Hey, it's me, your boyfriend slash girlfriend slash stay friend, favorite content creator, TTB and Gaming. What's up? Hey, real quick, just really quick, you guys. When did we become stockholders? When did we start having shares in these companies? Because every time I log on to the Hell site, I am seeing the same arguments being made anytime there's a game that a bunch of grifters don't like. And it's always come down to Steam user charts, the Steam charts, the concurrent users. When did we start caring about this? Like, legitimately, the user scores, the Metacritic scores. Like, when did we start caring about this? I thought it was don't trust these review sites because they're all in the pocket of big gaming. They're all in the DEI pockets. Now it's actually, you can use them, but only if it's for the game that I like. And the game that you like is bad because the concurrent users on Steam is not as high as the concurrent user all-time peak of like Dota 2. Recently, one of the creators, the writers, developers, I believe actually too, of Warhorse Studios for the Kingdom Come Deliverance, decided to make a tweet. And he decided to compare his game that came out 7 years ago to Dragon Age Veilguard. And I couldn't help but notice that he specifically chose Dragon Age Veilguard. Now, he's trying to backtrack and say that he's just happy that his game is still having numbers. And he's not going to mention the fact that his game is on sale for 80% off, which is like $6. And there's a sequel coming out, and people who might be interested in the sequel would most likely want to play the original. It's like, oh my God, it costs less than a cup of coffee. I'm going to try it out, right? I mentioned that because, again, they're using the concurrency, the Steam concurrent player count, right? These are single player games. There is no benefit into looking at the concurrent users because all that tells you is how many people are right now playing the game or how many people play the game at the same time. It doesn't tell you how many copies the game was sold. It doesn't tell you how many people enjoy the game. It doesn't tell you anything actually worth a damn. Single player games benefit 0% from that at all. Like 0%. I could show you the concurrent users of God of War Ragnarok or Spider-Man, and they wouldn't be nearly as high as one of a multiplayer game. That doesn't necessarily mean these games are bad, right? They're different types of games. I hate this argument so much because it reduces any sort of nuance that could have been had to just big number, small number, big number, better. And that's so stupid. This reminds me of like the old like comic book discussions people used to have, or like the anime discussions, like, oh, who would win, Goku versus Superman? And people would kind of just like play around and have fun with it. And then like power scalers came out and it got super sweaty. And now there's like a website where you can look at people's speed and stats. And actually they're faster than the speed of light. And this one's hypersonic, but this one's hypersonic too. And like yada, yada, yada. And it's like, why do that? Like legitimately, why do this? I love engaging in conversations like that. I truly do love the ones where it's like, who would win, Goku or Superman, or who's better as a fighter, like this guy or that guy. Like, those are fun because I like to look at it and be like, okay, let's just do like the eyeball test, right? And sure, you can use some examples of, well, he did catch a speeding bullet, so maybe he's a little faster than this guy. But when you start putting in these fucking numbers, it's like you're defeating the purpose of this whole thing. What does Steam concurrent users tell you, again, other than this many people are playing the game or have played the game at the same time? And sure, there are some single player games that have an insane amount of numbers like Black Myth Wukong, but then you also have to look at the fact that Black Myth Wukong is a game that came from China. And over in China, a lot of people were excited about this game. There were even reports of people having the day off of work to play this game. This game was given out in like coffee stores and stuff, right? This isn't to say the game is bad or anything, but if a lot of fucking people play it at once, it's gonna have a huge number. But what does that number mean other than people played it? Does it mean people enjoyed it? Does it mean it's the best game to ever exist? Like, what are you using by these metrics? What is the actual function of this? Because if it's just to win an argument online, That's fucking stupid. Because again, these are single player games. None of that matters. And even if you want to transition that to multiplayer games, are these competitive multiplayer games? I can play with my friends in Baldur's Gate 3 online. So there's an online component there. But because Baldur's Gate 3 doesn't have like, again, fucking like, I don't know, Overwatch numbers or like Call of Duty numbers, does that mean that Baldur's Gate 3 is bad? Does that mean that Call of Duty is just the best game ever? Like, what are we trying to do here? I mean, I can tell you what people are trying to do here, right? They're trying to make the argument that, again, the numbers mean the games are good. But then when the games they like don't have the numbers they want, then suddenly, it doesn't actually matter. And again, I hate that so much. Be honest and be consistent. I only bring up those numbers when I'm either refuting other people's point of views, like they're like, hey, this game's bad because these numbers, this and that. And I would show like, hey, look, this game had a higher number than that game. So does that mean this game's better? And it's usually a game that they've already deemed to be too woke or it's awful, it's bad. Like Baldur's Gate 3. That's the wokest game out there. And I will compare every game they talk about to Baldur's Gate 3's numbers. And then it's always like, but that game's actually not woke. It is, by all of their standards, it is extremely woke. But suddenly it's not woke because good numbers. So then it becomes, is this a fucking scouter for wokeness? Like, oh my God, it has over 900,000 concurrent players. It can't be woke. The power level is too high. Like, what is the purpose? We're doing this to win arguments on the internet. Next time you see someone bringing up the Steam concurrent stuff, and not as a counterpoint to someone else's bullshit, but just arbitrarily bringing it up, ask yourself, what the fuck, what's the purpose of this? Are you trying to win an argument on the internet? Because that's weird. Like, that's an objectively weird thing to do. We play video games. You want to speak to the quality of the game? Then speak to the quality of the game. Talk about the game from a mechanical level. Or maybe there's too many bugs. Or the voice acting's kind of rough. Or there's too many graphical hiccups. There's not enough consistency in gameplay. The gameplay loop isn't satisfying. The controls feel bad. Like, something like that. Talk about the actual game. But nowadays, no one wants to talk about the game anymore. They want to just talk about how the game did. Who fucking cares? So many of the games you guys have played growing up were not financial juggernauts. They just weren't. Because that's a very hard thing to be. And yet, probably some of the best memories you have are playing those games. Whether it's by yourself, with your friends, midnight release, what have you. That doesn't mean these games are suddenly bad or anything like that. But now we're at the point where, to these people, it's the end-all be-all asterisk, unless it's a game they fucking hate. Then it doesn't matter if it's a good score or not. It doesn't matter if it has a billion players playing it a lot, because that means there's just sheep and they have no opinions and yada, 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 yada. I'm not one to focus too much on the past, but in this regard, I do miss the older game conversations when no one was obsessed with the Metacritic score. People weren't scouring through fucking pages and pages of company stock prices in order to say this game is bad enough by the company's tanking, because we don't care. As the consumer, we care about the end product. Me personally, I care about the developers insofar as, like, I hope they are being, crunched. They have a good working environment, it's non-hostile. They can do the work to the best of their ability. But like, if a company's stock is tanking, what the fuck does that have to do with me? Again, do we own stock now? Are we, I'm old, I'm 35, but I don't have stock in like Ubisoft or like Microsoft or Sony or anything like that. So like, why do I care if they didn't appease their shareholders? This game fucking rips. I still like it. I like Prince of Persia: Lost Crown. I don't give a shit if it didn't make all the money in the world. I like the game. I think it's fun and enjoyable. I like its Metrovania style. I like its art style. I like the fact that's very obviously anime influenced. I love that shit. I think it's fucking cool. Who cares if it doesn't make Ubisoft $1 bajillion? I'm not Ubisoft. Who gives a shit if Spider-Man 2 didn't make $1 trillion for Sony or Insomniac? I'm not the head of Insomniac. I don't work for Sony. I love Spider-Man. I think it's great. I want more. Like, when did we lose that? When did that go away? It is so annoying to just see the discourse just being consistently devolving into shit that ultimately means nothing. I'm a yapper. I also like to critique. So again, yes, I will make videos that do mention those things, but I will give you the context of why I'm talking about that. But if we're just on Twitter and we're just talking about games and just like fun shit, or we're on Discord, we're just talking about fun shit, I'm not going to bring up its sales, because who gives a shit? If I think a game sucks, I'll tell you why it sucks, because I played the game and I fucking hated it, like Vex. But I'm not going to bring up the fact that, oh yeah, Vex was from Acclaim and Acclaim went under, therefore Vex is bad because Acclaim stocks dropped 20% after the game came out. Because who cares? What does any of that matter? We know as gamers, lowercase g, not capital G, that shit's not a sign of quality. People obsessed with, oh my god, this game is mid, it's a 6 out of 10, it's a 7 out of 10. Like I said earlier, a lot of the games you play were 7 out of 10s. If you're an older gamer like myself, those like weekend blockbuster games you played, 7 out of 10s. You played fucking 50 Cent Blood in the Sand, you played Army of Two, you played Hulk Ultimate Destruction, the game was a fucking banger. Those games were like 7 out of 10s. But you had a lot of fun with it. That's what matters, right? Everyone keeps telling me you just want games to be fun again. Do you? Because not from the conversations I'm fucking seeing. I'm seeing you guys wanting to be stockholders of these companies and want to be in charge of where the companies go in their direction. I don't see any of you guys talking about what actually makes these games fun, what would make a game fun. I hear you talking about you wanting to have more naked women or less black people or less queer people, but you don't talk about how that makes the game fun. You're talking about someone's ROI. Why are you pocket watching? Why are you pocket watching billion-dollar companies? Why do you care? Who fucking cares? Like, legitimately, who cares? I saw Furiosa. That movie was great. They considered it a flop. I think they're wrong. I like the movie. But I don't give a shit if the movie company's pockets are hurting. Who cares? I'm watching a different movie now. I'm on to something else. I enjoyed my time there. I'm doing something else now. Like, just really look at these conversations. They're insane. They are insane. Actually, the game you like fucking blows because Steam, the only place people put video games on and literally nowhere else, says that only 200 people are playing it right now. Okay. Does that mean only 200 people bought the game ever? Is that the only sales the games will ever make? Because again, in this universe, Steam is the only distributor of video games. There's no consoles, there's nothing. It's just Steam. Does that mean that, again, this game's bad? Doesn't automatically mean it's bad. Doesn't necessarily mean it's good either, but you could also just try the game for yourself. Or if you don't want to try it, don't try it. But what does Steam numbers have to do with fucking anything? So many games get released on Steam. Like, who cares? People are still playing games that came out over a decade ago because they really like Counter-Strike or Dota or Half-Life 2. That doesn't mean that every other game is terrible because it doesn't have the same user numbers. Like, and again, for the last time, unless you work for these companies, why do you care? Why do you care? Answer that. Just put in the comments. Why do you care? Why do you care about a game's concurrent users? Why do you care about this game's overall peak numbers on Steam? What does that matter? Especially if you're playing a single player game. Like, personally, when I buy games, I don't necessarily immediately play them the moment they come out and then never again. So, like, what does it matter? What does it matter?